I'm Catherine. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the biggest development that happened in my life, which was my move in transition from high school to college. So, just a little background, I'm from a super small town. There's not much to do there. Probably walk around Walmart. That's what we did for fun, or go to the movies. Um, and I would say that I was a little sheltered in a way. I'm Asian. I have strict Asian parents, so they did keep things from me, and you know, we lived in this little bubble where everything is unicorns and rainbows. So for me to move to Atlanta only at 18 by myself, I was like the world is my oyster. Atlanta's a huge city. I started my undergraduate career at Georgia State, so I moved straight downtown. There was so much going on all the time, and it was a lot to process. So for me, that experience taught me a lot. Um, it taught me that it just made me really appreciate my parents more because I was around all these people who had these different life experiences, and I their way of thinking was a lot different than mine. So it was a lot to take in, and really, like, it opened my eyes to a lot of things too, and to all of the things that the good and the bad of the city, I guess I could say. But it definitely made me appreciate my parents more in what they did for my sister and I, as far as providing for us and giving us a simple life. And it made me appreciate the small town that I'm from too, because the way that we move down there is so much slower than up here, even though it's still in Georgia. It's just a lot different. It's a completely different culture, completely different mindset. Um, People are just happy down there doing the little things, and up here, everybody's always on the go. No one's ever satisfied, and they're just keeping their life moving ahead. So I would say that growing up, I had a really great experience. I wouldn't trade my childhood for the world. As a child, I was a little social withdrawn, and that's just because of my ethnic background. I was the only Asian person in my class. Um, so, of course, I faced some discrimination and all of this stuff. And so it made me a little social withdrawn a little bit until I found my confidence and owned who I was. Um, So yeah, and in one of my articles that I found, Perkins mentions that social withdrawal children usually experience anxiety in adolescence and adulthood, and I can definitely attest to that because I feel like my anxiety level isn't terrible, but I do have anxiety over certain things, and sometimes it gets really bad to where I'm just shaking, like my hands won't stop shaking, and I have to like talk myself down, um, just over little things. Like it could be hosting my friend's birthday dinner. Like it's ridiculous, but I would say that attributes to my childhood. Um, just because I was socially withdrawn for a couple of years. Um, but other than that, I loved it. I I loved my childhood. I loved all the experiences that I got. And so back to my move, whenever I moved to Atlanta for the first time, of course I was homesick. I was 4 hours away from home. I didn't really know anybody except for one person, which is like one of my childhood friends that I've known since first grade. We lived together in the dorm. Um, and then I ended up joining a sorority. Uh, and I guess you could say that since my parents were strict growing up, I kind of had all this freedom. I didn't really know what to do. And I kind of just, did whatever I wanted to do. I was partying. I kind of let my grades drop. And it was kind of an eye opener when it came to my sophomore year, because that's whenever you're choosing your programs and getting accepted into your programs. on the road to graduation. And I didn't want to be that person who, stayed in college too long because my parents worked so hard to get me to where I was. And so um, I ended up changing universities to Kennesaw State. I transferred there to kind of get away from all of the things going on at my other university because, like I said, it was downtown Atlanta, so there was always something going on all the time. And it was good for me. It was a different change of pace, Kennesaw to Georgia State, or Georgia State to Kennesaw, and Kennesaw is much more relaxed. It's kind of a more traditional campus, and it reminded me of my small town a little bit, the way the environment is. But according to Jering, which is another article that I found, he says that housing mobility may affect a child's life in positive ways, even though in the short term the effects are disruptive. So I could definitely say that because even though my experience disrupted my grades and my attitudes towards everything, right when I first moved, it was short term, and then I, picked myself up and it did what I had to do to make my family proud and graduate college in a timely manner and with the grades that I wanted. And so I think that experiencing everything and learning about who I was, I kind of found myself through that. And I think that that was a really monumental part of my life because I honestly don't think that I would be where I am now if I didn't experience that. I wouldn't have this outlook on life of um, appreciating my parents as much as I do, and really realizing how important it was for them to raise us the way that they did raise us so that we could appreciate life, if that makes sense. Um, and it's just crazy. I feel like my whole development with my family has been kind of different than everybody else's, even though it's probably the same in the foundation. But it really just opens my eyes a lot, and I cannot be more appreciative of this move. And I've been here for 5 years now in Atlanta, and I like it. But yeah, it definitely changed everything, and I am very appreciative of being able to experience that because if I didn't go through the struggles and the confusion of what I was doing freshman year, then or freshman and sophomore year, and letting and my grades slipping, I wouldn't have, you know, gotten to here where I am now. So I definitely appreciate everything that my parents have done, and I think that um, that this move has really changed things because if I would have stayed and went to a university around my hometown, I don't think that I would have gained my independence and really went out of my way to make friends because they would have been my friends from down there. So it's just shaped me to be the person that I am now, and that's crazy to think about, but yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and let me know if you have any questions.